Okay, less than 1% of the United States population is directly involved in hands-on agriculture production.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. But George, I can tell you with relative confidence that 100% of people in the United States of America eat.
In this day, there is a lot of passion around nature and the land. But I think we all have a similar question of how we are supposed to direct that passion. In this podcast, I try to get people reconnected to the land and better understand what our role as a species is on it. I do this through having conversations with people who I believe can offer information and ideas to better help us understand our role. It's been interesting because I've kind of just gotten more serious with the setup because I'm like, I ask people to come here to drive from, 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes, or I drive out to them and they'll spend a half day showing me around whatever operation they have going on. And I'm like, I need to make sure that the production quality is worth that. Like, whether or not people choose to listen to it, like, I need to make sure that the production quality is worth them spending that much time with me. And like, so because I've always been very, like, apprehensive to making a very fancy setup like this because it just doesn't feel as natural of a conversation then, if it takes me 20 minutes to set up all the equipment. But I've kind of just accepted, like, that's how it's going to make the most. That's how I feel good about actually asking these people to spend that much time and effort.
And it's an act of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It's an act of professionalism.
Yeah.
It's an act of taking whatever it is that you want to do in life to the next level.
Yeah.
Recently, just because I've been kind of bored with life,
You've been bored with life?
I have been bored with life, waiting for calves. The weather's not cooperating. And so, I've been just doing fun little snips here and there on my phone, recording, putting them out there. And I'm just sometimes almost shocked by what people are willing to listen to for a minute.
Yeah.
Or 2 minutes. And one of the things I've learned, because I'm a lifelong learner, I want to be a lifelong learner.
It's the best kind.
I strive for the next adventure to learn. People are really interested in cow manure.
So you just go on Facebook and you press record and talk about your cow's poop?
No, I just video it on my phone because I'm not very techno savvy, right? I did not grow up with computers. I can do a lot of stuff with a video camera. I do that for fun on the side as well. But big picture wise, every day we have a phone.
Yeah.
And that phone has recording capabilities.
And the reality is whether or not you think so, you're doing something cool every day. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, going way back in my history, I've got a picture of myself probably 35 years ago, 40 years ago, hands and knees at a pasture walk. And guess what I was doing?
Digging at cow manure.
I was digging in cow manure. Cow applied manure.
You had 20 people around you like, guys, come on, check this out. Come on.
What kind of bugs are we going to find here today?
Oh my gosh, look at this guy.
Yes, we've got clover mites and we've got dung beetles and we've got angleworms. And there's a unique characteristic when we let animals like cows or sheep or pigs do the things without us being in complete 100% control.
Yeah.
Cows don't manure or urinate in the same spot. Mixing those two components is something that man made up. If you watch the biology of the bovine, they will do one action and they move feet away and then they do the next action.
Interesting. And both those actions supply different needs to the soil and whatnot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We get carbon and some nutrients
Mm-hmm.
from the actual manure platter, and the bulk of urine is nitrogen and water.
Yeah.
And both do different things in the soil.
Yeah. And they supply a different life. Yeah, I was reading about that in the book you gave me at the Grassworks conference. I was I showed up and I was talking to Mary with Patrick, and I was just like, oh, should we go to this one or this one? And she was like, I don't know, just split up and go to either one. And then she was like, but follow me. And she brought us to the book section, and she was like, get that one and that one and that one.
Well, I hope your whole semester hasn't been reading agriculture books. And
but that sounds so fun.
And thank you for the nice plug for Grassworks.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who may not be aware, in Wisconsin here, we have a great farmer-led group for regenerative ag and grazing.
Mm-hmm.
And every year they have a conference. And I felt honored that you and your brothers took the time from your schedules to pop over to La Crosse and spend a little time with the folks at Grassworks.
Yeah, I think that'll turn into a spring staple for me in January. I think it is, right?
Yeah.
And I was even thinking about, oh man, I should get like a booth there or something.
A booth?
And then like put up like Ventures of Land stuff and
absolutely.
Try and like I could get you and Joe to do podcasts and stuff throughout the course, and like basically like live advertisement.
I think
for the podcast. And I was thinking about that for the Marble Seed Conference too, because that's where I interviewed Austin Frerick this year.
Okay,
as well.
fabulous.
So,
yeah.
But because I'm like, I go to all these conferences and stuff, and like most of the time I'm doing podcasts, or I have people there that I could do podcasts with. I was just at the Wisconsin Sportsman's Expo doing a podcast with a land manager over there. And I was talking to him about, getting a booth and just,
absolutely
setting up different podcasts that I can do. But then also, I was like, oh, I could get like an espresso machine, and I could just have a sign that says $1 espresso. And then as I'm making people espresso, I could, talk about the podcast, and I could be like, you ever heard of the Ventures of Land podcast? Like, because like
self-promotion.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it's, that's really there's so many podcasts out there that if you make that personal connection with people, that's what's actually going to like push them to go and listen to it and stuff. And I feel like, even if I were to just get 10 new listeners from it, that's a significant amount more percentage of what I have right now. So I feel like it'd be worth it, but I also haven't looked at pricing for booths at all.
Well, for some of these, because a lot of these events, they have to charge a fee, right?
Of course.
But there's always more than one way to skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having those audiences, even if you run it in like 5-minute interviews, 10-minute interviews, and you conglomerate them, I think people out there are really excited about hearing the good things that people who are trying to steward our land in a variety of ways. Because we have farmers who are doing it. We have naturalists that are doing it, biologists. We have everyday people who are putting prairies in their backyards.
Right.
This summer, it's going to save yourself some money on fuel, maybe, if you plant a pollinator garden.
Time and your landscaping can actually be a working ecosystem.
Absolutely. And you don't have to have 100 or 1,000 acres to have a positive effect, even just in your neighborhood if you happen to be in an urban situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it's even, your neighbors look at it and they're like, oh, this is really cool. And that looks really pretty. And look at all the pollinators and stuff in there. And then people are like, oh, but I don't want to deal with all the bugs. But it actually will lower like your mosquito, like biting flies populations, because it enters a more balanced ecosystem into the equation, and you have more predator species. Actually, I was talking about Thomas Mills Snow with you upstairs a little bit, and that's something he talks about with fighting EHD, which is like the big deer disease that everyone talks about because it's spread by like a biting fly.
Yes.
And he's like, if you help to increase predator insect species such as, like dragonflies, via native habitat, prairie, that's going to just like create a more balanced ecosystem and lower the population of those midgets and stuff, and you'll see less of it.
Absolutely. And one thing we've forgotten about because of the fast pace that our society lives at today is that there is what you just called balance.
Yeah.
And when things get out of balance, there's always a problem. It's like if you've got a wobbly tire because you lost your tire weight, there's going to be eventually a negative effect.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the shifts in agriculture that we've experienced over the last 30, 40 some years, we're using products on our landscape such as neonicotinoid chemicals
Yeah.
that are actually neurotoxins
Yeah.
that have had a incredibly detrimental effect on parts of our ecosystem.
Right.
And it's one of those things
Well,
where
it can even be detrimental to our animals that we just don't really realize it as well in some capacity.
early research, and I shouldn't say early because this research has been going on at least for the last decade, maybe decade and a half. The Dakotas, I mean, even Texas,
Yeah.
Wisconsin, Minnesota, they're doing research and they're finding neonicotinoid components or the neonicotinoids themselves in game species organs. And so, okay, we're making a connection, but how does that connection all fit? And
Or what even is the impact of it? Like,
well,
is this something we have to worry about?
right?
Probably.
And researchers are showing that it's showing up in water sources, and that's why. And George, you're not old enough to remember this, but I sure am. They used to close the bridge over to Winona, Minnesota,
Really?
because of the mayfly hatch.
Wow.
They would have to take snow plows out
That's
to
crazy.
plow the bridge between, I forget what's on the opposite side of the river from Winona. But that has all changed.
Yeah.
Because of the effect that this neurotoxin is having on the mayfly and the mayfly larva and the mayfly life cycle.
It's kind of crazy to me because I was researching like a year and a half ago, just trout streams and how we actually manage our trout fisheries and all of that. And it's literally just farm raised trout that we just dump into streams.
Yes.
And you kind of wonder why, like, have we really degraded the habitat for trout that much that the only way that they're really aside from a select few streams, like primarily we wouldn't have trout if we weren't just stocking these streams all the time.
Yeah.
And then you hear about stuff like that of mayflies, which is like a key piece of trout diet. I'm not a trout expert by any means.
Right.
But
it's food.
Yeah.
Mayflies are food for something that eats something that size. And it's having a ripple effect throughout a lot of these watersheds because without natural reproduction, then we begin to have problems. And that's why so many trout, especially, are started in confinement.
Yeah.
Because then they're in the best possible condition to be planted in a stream to, hopefully enhance the quality of the fisheries. And, there's the big discussion between brook trout and brown trout and which is better. Well, what's the native species? And so
yeah, we don't even know that, do we?
It gets really complicated really, really fast. I do know that I love to eat fish, but I am not a fish specialist either.
Yeah.
Just know a little bit about water quality.
Yeah. Well, you're big in watershed management and stuff too. So
I think
it's a little bit, I mean, the work that you do kind of just connects to everything. So
yeah, because we can't be in isolation. We have to find our place and time again where we become holistic. And you don't have to be a farmer to think holistically. You could work in town, But if you think about your neighbors, if you think about your community, if you think about the habitat around you,
Mhm.
all of those things are holistic thinking. And especially when it comes to being on the farm, you know, farmers are base level providers for the society.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with how they farm or not, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot more mouths to feed and we have to figure out a way to do it. But at the same time, we also have a responsibility, a higher level responsibility to take care of, I'm going to say, our home.
Mm-hmm.
And our home happens to be the planet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was having an interesting conversation with someone with very, very interesting political views.
Okay.
And they made a comment about something, it was, I don't know, some kind of a change that was going to take place with air quality. Right. And I don't work in air quality other than the fact that I like to breathe. Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of had to scratch my head a little bit because while I was listening to their train of thought, my train of thought was headed down a slightly different road.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thanked him to have a nice conversation. He kind of was surprised. He said, well, don't you have counterpoints? And it was like, no, but I think we had a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about things differently. And
or
it's
at least just from a different perspective. And
yes.
I think that's a big thing with, those sorts of conversations is we all have just different backgrounds from which we see things.
Absolutely.
Like when I look at land management, I've past year and a half really delved into the holistic big picture management of this property,
Yes.
But if I look at where a lot of that motivation comes from, it very much is the deer hunter inside of me, because that's where I started with land management. So when I talk about land management, I will in my head tend to bring it back to that kind of thought process. I mean, we were talking earlier about, how animals will kind of just know things cellularly from previous generations. And it's like the science behind it is very interesting. But I was just in my mind, I was connecting that to like, man, I wonder how that could apply to deer management,
Well, deer know their ranges.
Yeah. But even like how they eat and stuff. So like we talk about reintroducing native species and prairie back onto this property, which will hopefully be realized this summer to some extent. And I've heard of it taking a bit to just for the deer to readjust that piece of their diet back into
absolutely
their routines and stuff. And that's part of, when you have a prairie type of conversation with deer hunters, that there's a lot of issues that they have with it, but one of them is the time that it takes, to create it and realize it, to make the prairie actually grow, because it is a multi-year process, but then even for the deer to actually start using it in that way.
Absolutely.
And make it like a primary piece of their diet,
It's foreign to them at this point. I'm going to say in their genetic memory and their genetic history, that memory, that cellular memory that we anecdotally were discussing, I see it with livestock.
Yeah, that's
last year we were monkeying around. We wanted to do a kind of a wild test plot mix. And the first time we took the herd through.
Was this on your farm or was this on? Okay.
I think of our farm as an experimental station. And I want everybody who's got, even if it's your backyard, that's your experimental station. Figure out what works for you on the landscape, even if it's just a little piece of ground. And, the reaction, those animals look at you like, what am
I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, well, this is not necessarily what we were thinking.
Because I'm kind of excited about it, but
oh, you want us to eat turnips and radishes? This is can we have some sauce with our salad?
Where's the clover?
Absolutely. But by the second first grazing, they really didn't know what to do with it. I mean, they were sampling, they were snacking, And more than anything, they were complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. We're not so sure about this. Second time through, there had been enough internal herd peer pressure that the cows that tasted it previously, boy, they were right on it.
Yeah.
It was just like, we have got the salad lunch bar now. And
got 32% crude protein here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Had to give them a little scratch to keep that rheumatoid afloat.
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't know what to do with that.
It's amazing that animals have patterns, and reintroduction of native species, it's not going to take them long.
Yeah.
But it does take time.
Mm-hmm.
And because we live kind of in an instant society, you want something to eat, you can go through a drive-through restaurant.
Yeah.
You want to go buy a new living room group.
Well, and
you can go to the store and buy one right now.
You also just don't have to think about anything anymore. Like,
correct.
You're so disconnected as to like, how did that cheeseburger from McDonald's actually get there?
Well, not just the cheeseburger, but you've got the bun,
right?
You've got the cheese.
That's like something, I'm writing this essay right now for a composition class about basically breaking down why I think our current food system is unsustainable and sort of like ways that we can start to adjust. And for my reform section of the paper, that was pretty much just what I said, is like, I just want people to be more accountable. And my composition professor was like, so you're talking about the farmers? And I was like, no, the consumers. Like, absolutely. I want the people that are buying the food to realize, how did that actually get there? Not even like to feel bad about it or to feel like moved in some way. I want you to just try to understand what actually goes on to make that happen. Not from the perspective of like, I want you to see how bad it is. I just want you to understand it. And I want you to understand the process.
Knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to add some numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Less than 1% of the United States population is directly involved in hands-on agriculture production.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. But George, I can tell you with relative confidence that 100% of people in the United States of America eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope, at least.
Who holds the power?
Yeah.
Okay. If 100% eat, then maybe 50% care, right? Because life is busy. Life is hard. Life is fast.
Oh, yeah.
Resources are limited.
And you're worried about all this other stuff. It's like, It's hard for you. Like, food is just the one thing that you don't ever have to worry about it being there, aside from having to pay for it.
And you know what's really profound, which we learned, 6 years and a month ago, right? The first entire month of the pandemic, when really the globe was kind of locked down, the biggest concern people had was running out of toilet paper.
Not food.
Not food. Because the first thing that disappeared from all the store shelves was toilet paper. It took almost 6 to 8 weeks before people couldn't find meat.
Yeah.
They couldn't find other products.
And it's like, what are you going to do?
Right. I mean, let's face it, okay? If you get newspapers, I'm still a newspaper reader. You always have a source of a cleaning device in your house if you think outside the box, right? But when you go to the store and you can't find milk, you can't find meat, you can't find canned goods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like, you got to have that stuff. It's really hard to replace food when you can't find it.
Yeah.
And so I think we have a lot to learn just from that experience, why we need to think more about our food. And we also need to think about our health, because food and health are tied together. They're like,
and part of it's also, it's like the science is just so messed up
Yes.
in this world of agriculture in general, but then especially when you combine the health aspect
Yes.
of it into the agricultural aspect, because stuff is just so heavily funded on both sides of it. Like I talked about this in the essay of just big ag corporations are for sure funding research to, skew the results and prove that their products are safe.
Absolutely.
But then there's also companies who see, oh, well, there's a bunch of foodies that would love to have safe foods, and they're probably funding research to prove that the stuff is super unhealthy for you.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's hard to, like, the research that you should be paying attention to isn't necessarily like how does this affect it, but what is the actual core of this product,
Correct.
So like you can look at, glyphosate, which was originally like a demineralizer,
Correct.
or like a mineral accumulator,
Yes.
and patented as an antibiotic.
Yes.
And you can start to draw lines with, okay, if there is research showing that it's a mineral accumulator in the soil, and then also like, because you mix water with Roundup when you use it in a large system, like if you were to use muddy water with the Roundup, it doesn't work anymore.
Right. It changes its efficacy.
Yes, because it's all of a sudden it's like the glyphosate itself has been like grafted onto the dirt that's in the muddy water.
Yes.
And therefore it's not going to be absorbed in the plants. And then you're like, okay, well, if it's also patented as an antibiotic and was used as an antibiotic, then it's probably also killing stuff in the soil, and it's probably killing stuff in my gut biome, and like that's the side of that you have to look at, and then reason through yourself,
Absolutely.
to understanding.
And that's where that knowledge is power comes in. And I would love to say, yes, look up xyz.com, right? Please don't do that, because I don't even know if there is such a thing as xyz.com.
Check really quick.
And it's probably something that's going to get me into trouble. Not advocating that. But, it takes time if you're going to really, I'm going to say, dig down to find the truth.
Yeah.
And even in ourselves, the human animal, because we are the human animal.
Right.
We don't understand a lot about our own systems. You brought up our
gut
guts,
biome. Yeah.
Our gut biomes. There was a period in time where antibiotic soaps were the huge thing. Yep, that's a new thing. Everybody gets antibiotic soaps. And it was all of a sudden you started talking to people who were having tummy troubles, and they were having issues, and Crohn's disease was on the rise. And there was a certain, not saying that it was caused by antibacterial soaps, right? I'm not making.
No, but you can draw lines of just.
Right.
But creating an off balance, opening the window for other things to enter in is also the other.
Absolutely. And then all you got to do is eat a special kind of yogurt to restore your gut biome, right? So it's, in a lot of these things, if we dig back far enough, a lot of them start with the need and the capitalism to make money to continue to do things.
And I think, that was the other thing that I talked about in the essay a bit, was the idea of just, because essentially my solution overall of like, if I had a magic wand, was to just decentralize the system, create, smaller seed companies, smaller herbicide companies, smaller soil amendment companies, smaller packaging companies, but then also smaller farms. And a big reason why that is because now you have, I can know the owner of the seed company that I'm buying from.
Absolutely.
And they know me, and they care about my success as a person and as a farmer.
Absolutely.
Versus someone that's just going to try and rip me off. And then the other thing is like, this was the broad concept of what I was talking to my dad about the last time I had him on the podcast was, we were talking about an essay by Wendell Berry, and basically the essence of it was people are going to hold each other accountable when they live in smaller communities, because you can't afford to be, a terrible person. I was going to use other language, but
You can't do that.
I can't do that. But to be like just a bad person that's going to mess people over, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ripple effect. It's different looking someone in the eye. It's different when you get to have a physical handshake.
Yeah.
It's different when you have, that's where that holistic management comes in, where you know that even though your life may be completely busy and completely chaotic, you're still going to stop and go volunteer to cook chicken at a bridge someplace in a
Right.
community for the fire department, for the EMTs, for the local basketball club.
Mhm.
Why? Because it's important. It's your family. It's your broader sense of beyond your own genetic makeup of doing something good for your fellow man.
Yeah.
And when we really look at percentage of farmers, percentage of consumers, the consumers really need to educate themselves up.
Yeah.
And they really need to recognize that not everything that we as a society are being sold, we are being told, we are being expected to do may not necessarily be the way it should be.
Mhm.
We should be good to our neighbors. We should support our communities.
Yeah.
Decentralization of our food industry is going to be excruciatingly tough
Yeah.
because so much of agriculture now over the last 30 to 40 years of my career has been a push towards vertical integration. Yes. And for
a small farmer, having vertical and horizontal integration is a big piece of success right now.
Yes.
But when you have very large companies doing that, that's the problem.
Yes.
And that they understand that that's the least risky side of the business is what they tend to do.
Absolutely.
And the farming is the most risky.
Yes. And sometimes I wonder if some of these big companies, especially that are multiple subsidiaries of each other, and then all of a sudden, if you look at who sits on the board of an industrial dairy,
Yeah.
those are those same players.
Mm-hmm.
And so being as the price of milk has really not changed much since the 1980s. Yeah, there's been peaks. Yeah, there's been valleys. There's been the advent of organic milk production, which gives you a bump, but the margins, you got to look at the margins because price of
inputs.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I don't care how you farm right now. This is going to be a tough year in 2026 just because of the input costs and the depressed prices that we have. It's going to be a real challenge, even for folks who have it figured out and aren't sitting on mortgages, because a mortgage and interest rates, that's a hard pill to swallow.
So I have a question for you, because you are in a situation where you talk to lots of different farmers, probably more than anybody else I'll ever meet. Like, how many of those farmers that you know who are like first or second generation farmers actually own the land that they farm on?
Almost none.
Yeah.
Almost none. And if a magic fairy came in with the wand and said, your farm, you don't have to worry about a mortgage. All you have to do is cash flow it. That would be a game changer. But because of conglomeration, because of vertical integration, because of mass land buying, especially with investment groups, someone else owns land. They can afford it because it's multiple parties.
Yeah.
So you spread your risk. Where you have one man, I'm going to say 100 acres, depending where you are in Wisconsin, outside of what's called the urban fringe, which is actually the next place where houses are going to be built. So, the price we really can't look at that as an ag investment.
Because it's like if you're the farmer, you're like, okay, well, I can sell it for lots of money for this urban developer.
I can sell it for, instead of $5,000 acre, I can sell it for
which is cheap nowadays.
Yes, it's very cheap. I can sell it for $50,000 for 100 by 200, I don't know, for a small plot of land
to build a house on.
Just to build a house.
Maybe have like a tiny little yard that
little
your dog can go and do his stuff on.
Yeah, you're really looking at where the next subdivision is going to be built. Mm-hmm. And that urban fringe is really, it's kind of a tragic place, because you get, like, on my drive down here, I told you a little bit about that earlier.
Yeah.
It just floors me, the expansion between the Black River and the conglomerate of Holmen, La Crosse,
mm-hmm.
and Onalaska.
Yeah.
Because
they're definitely kind of just merging into one big
giant city.
Yeah.
One big giant city. And once that's the last crop that'll ever be grown.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that property from the river all the way to, like, we're going to just say downtown La Crosse, that's pretty productive ag land.
Yeah.
That is now all houses.
Yeah. And it's cool to see people wanting to come down here and wanting to be a part of
absolutely
this place, because it's really cool. And I think
it's amazing.
One thing about, here, I left for Michigan Tech in August, and one of the things that I really liked about up there in the times that I'd visited is I was like, I could go drive into the middle of nowhere in the woods on some timber company's land and see pretty much no other people, and not even like drive past any houses after 5 minutes of driving.
Absolutely.
And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I wanted to do that for 4 years, and it didn't take me long to be like, man, one of the amazing, like, beautiful things about this place is the fact that there are good people here.
Yeah.
And I just didn't realize, like, how cool that was. And then I'm like, like, the naturalist and environmental movement is so closely associated with a mindset that's anti people using the land.
Yes.
And it's really, like, just seeing that shift in my mindset towards it I've just been a lot more of like, no, I want people to use the land. I don't want them to abuse it and exploit it.
Right.
But when I'm driving around and I see just, like, people, either having fun in their yards, or, working together, growing crops, or, milking cows and stuff, like, that's a really beautiful thing to me. And I love to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that there's an extreme value to that isn't being expressed within the naturalist and environmentalist movement. I'm excluding conservationists, because when you say conservationists, people tend to think hunters, which is somewhat accurate. And that's just something I've realized of, like, we need to stop that anti-human mindset that's kind of developing.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it has its place, but this whole, like, rewilding type mindset that people have of there should be places where people never touch and we never go, like, aside from maybe hiking or something like that. And you don't have to, once you start to research, like, the natural history of this landscape, like this driftless area in particular, but all of the Midwest and everywhere within North America, it take long to realize, wait, this place has been farmed
for a long time,
for thousands of years. And I'm not saying, like,
we weren't the first gem farmers on the North American continent.
No, and
I'm a long shot.
I'm not referring to, like, Native Americans starting, like, some like corn maze or strawberry patches or something like that. I'm saying they used fire to create a managed grazing system of bison and elk on this landscape for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And here's the thing. That practice made these ecosystems better than what they were without people. So we need to get out of this mindset that we are, and this is a huge monologue I'm going on, but
good.
that we are going to be exploitive no matter what, and we're always going to taint the landscape. And we need to
Yes.
get in the mindset of, no, we can bring so much good to it. And I was having this conversation with my dad on the podcast of, we were talking about how, we're both Catholics, so we believe in like original sin and stuff. And people get too enveloped with everybody has original sin, so therefore we're prone, like human nature is bad. It's like, we're also made in God's image and likeness and are therefore capable of so much good.
Absolutely. If we take the time to do it.
Yeah.
If we take and make,
Yeah.
you really have to take and make the time to do, whether it's something good for your neighborhood, for your family, for your environment. It gets us back to that holism.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't necessarily want to jump off of kind of like a religion shelf, because that's a whole ocean.
It is,
on its own. But if you go and do doctrine comparisons, there's a lot more similarities in, I'm going to say, man's humanity to man versus man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah.
Of which we're kind of on a trajectory right now where, as my grandmother would say, you can't say anything nice. You shouldn't say anything at all.
Right.
And there's little things, patience, understanding, love, caring. We have the power to change.
Oh, yeah.
We have the power to support the things that need to support. And as consumers, we all have a voice to say.
The entire system is built around consumers and what they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do we actually have to have something? Do we want something? Do we need something?
Yeah. Like, where do we draw the line with wants versus needs? And it's like, it's okay to get stuff that you want.
Absolutely.
Like, that's totally fine.
Yes.
But you just need to draw the line of where you're content with stuff and recognize that, there's a beauty in simplicity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because with that simplicity comes a level of peace. Just like you realizing, hey, I could be out in the middle of a forest and not see anyone for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And people are actually creating like decompression camps. That's kind of what I call
it. I think I've seen these, yeah.
Is where you unplug. You unplug from the chaos of society. No cell phones,
right.
No outside contact. You live off the land. You live in harmony as best we can, because as a deer hunter, George,
right,
that sustenance doesn't always come easy.
No. Well, even farmers know that. Yeah.
It takes energy. It takes pride. It takes the gut to either pull back that arrow, to pull that trigger, to harvest something that was living. And now that is coming back to you in the form of sustenance.
Yeah.
And through proper land management, proper care, even on, what they used to call the homesteads, they were pretty much self-contained units until they began to produce more than what the immediate family needed.
Right.
And then, you could buy eggs in the store. And this goes back a long time in history. But, you could sell your chickens in town. You could do all these different things. And somewhere in the mix, we forgot about the intimate relationship from the people that grow the food, the people that eat the food.
Yeah.
In the understanding of this is how it's done.
Right.
Nobody wants to live on byproduct.
No.
I don't want to live on, but I like to eat. Every time I come, I see you, I always get something wonderful.
I'm glad you think so.
Yes.
There's a reason for that, Mary. Yeah. No, I think having a connection where you actually see the person that you're getting your food from and knowing that farmer is, I think, just undervalued. And there's I kind of end the essay talking about how the fact that I'm extremely optimistic as to what things are going to turn into, because I see more and more people with this mindset towards agriculture and as consumers, and part of that's fueled by social media and stuff, and some of it's good, some of it's not. But I just see it more and more where people want to be aware.
Yes.
But then I also see more and more, because of social media, people are numb to it, where they hear about all this maybe not so great stuff that goes on, and they're like, well, that's just a part of life, I guess,
Right.
And I think that's just, from my perspective, very hard to deal with. But
well,
there's only so much you can do.
Absolutely. And we have to be realistic. Paradigm shifts take time.
Yeah.
It took time to go from the Industrial Revolution into the communication revolution.
Right.
Okay. 40, 50, 60 years. It takes time. Go back 40 years ago. There wasn't this thing called cell phones. There were bag phones. Early, that was the, you could make a phone call from your car. Little did you realize the fees were incredibly wild. I still remember the first time somebody handed me a laptop computer. That big thing that was sitting on my desk is now small, and I can throw it in a bag. Yeah. And now it's even smaller. I can fit it in my back pocket. But it takes time to do those paradigm shifts. And people do become numb because there's too much screen time. There's too much sedentary life.
Yeah.
We should be outside when the weather's good. Save all your screen time for
it's a little rainy today.
Yeah, we are not outside today. And I was hoping we could do a little walk.
I mean, we can if you want, if you're cool with your shoes getting a little muddy.
A little bit of mud never hurt anybody.
No, it did not. But I saw you brought your nice Subaru today, so I was like, oh, she didn't bring the truck.
And so we have to be patient. We have to educate where we can. We have to encourage self-education to the people who are interested.
Yeah. And the other thing is to understand, like, you're saying taking time. It's like, when you start buying local and buying direct from farmers, maybe it's just eggs, maybe it's just asparagus, but it's something, and it's a movement in the right direction.
Well,
and even if it's just farmers markets,
absolutely,
like that's a great place to just go and actually meet and connect with farmers. And then maybe they're like, well, we're starting a beef herd and we'll have beef this fall if you want to buy a half cow from us or something like that.
Absolutely. And what so many people who don't regularly attend a market, right? They don't realize when you take $1 and you spend it locally in your own community,
directly to the farmer,
that dollar is, I'm going to say, it's shattered across every outlet that farmer patronizes.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit's going to go to the gas station. A little bit's going to go to the pharmacy. A little bit's going to the grocery store. A little bit's going to the chiropractor or the doctor's office.
Car mechanic or something. Yeah.
The car mechanic. I mean, it echoes through your community. And the more we take $1 and we put it in a box store where everything comes from another country or everything comes from out of state, we lose that.
Yeah.
And that money doesn't come back into our local geographic financial pool of funds because it gets shipped away.
Yeah. When I interviewed Buzz, I forget the number that he gave me, but he gave me a pretty wild number of, like, when you go and shop at the grocery store, like how many cents of that dollar stays in the community. If people want to go back and listen to that episode, they can.
Yes, that was Patrick Sorge.
Yeah, with Buzz Patrick Sorge. Yeah, I think bringing awareness to it is the big thing of just making people accountable and responsible for it as a consumer.
Yes,
and realizing that they can be,
Yeah, because they have the power.
Yeah,
they're the 100%.
Right.
Sounds different when you quantify it like that, right?
Yeah.
Are you part of the 100%? You
How
don't have to be 50-50. Like when we do, politics and other things in
Yeah.
life, we're talking about unequivocally 100% of the population eats.
how do you think like maybe you might not have an answer to this question, but how do you think we can establish a direct to consumer market within agriculture?
It's going to take time. It's going to be a challenge. And it starts with supporting development in your community
Okay.
or in your geographic community or your county community. We need locker plants.
Yeah.
We need places where we can process, maybe the day will come where there will be rental space at commercial kitchens for people to open up small canneries again.
Right.
Because canning is a thing. It's been a thing for a generation upon generation.
That's something I'm going to try to start to do during the winter time, is eating like mostly canned or fermented foods instead of, buying apples all year long or oranges all year long.
Do you have a pressure canner?
Yeah, we pressure can stuff, but we don't, like when I'm at the grocery store and I'm buying stuff, like maybe more pickled things and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Of,
Yeah, we just have to think differently. I do think we're the local type movements. I think they're going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Because people want something more.
Mm-hmm.
People want something better. They want to refresh their cellular memory. I know when I sell a package of meat, if it's a first-time customer, the next time they come back, they say, I used to have that taste just from grandma and grandpa's.
Yeah.
When we would go to the farm and we would visit when I was a child. So it's a reinvigoration of the cellular memory.
Right.
Right? Because why? Because local always tastes better.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have local varieties. We have things that do well here in the Driftless area.
And I feel like there's also just a different, a good, healthy sense of pride with it, of like this, I know the person that grew this, or even if you grow your own food, it's even better.
Absolutely.
I literally, if I go and shoot a deer and eat that deer versus if my brother goes and shoots a deer and then I eat that one, the one that I shot always tastes better for some weird reason.
Absolutely.
Makes no sense. Totally placebo. It doesn't actually taste better, but I just feel so much better eating it. Both of them are still better than eating store-bought beef, but I think, I've seen apps starting to pop up for direct to consumer markets, of like farmers can like sign up, say what they're selling for how much, and then consumers can actually look at it and be like, oh, there's a farmer selling eggs from me and I want to go buy eggs. And then and I feel like that's something that would be cool to expand upon, because maybe it's a little technical for the farmers and stuff, but they're resilient people and they can figure it out.
Oh, absolutely.
But from a consumer standpoint, being able to just go on their phone and see all the different farms within their area, I feel like is, because a lot of the farmers that are pushing direct consumer markets, they have profiles on Facebook or Instagram, and like, that's how they do it, I feel like.
Right. And then there's also written publications like the Wisconsin Farm Fresh Atlas.
Oh.
Which gives you region by region who's a farm that sells what.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you have to get that through like a subscription.
Right.
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I have seen it at some of the larger big box grocery stores. But it's usually like by the exit where you got like the free magazines on the way out. But it's called the Farm Fresh Atlas, and it gives you county by county who's got what, whether it's a farmer's market, a direct farm sale, like a delivery type service. And I think that is growing.
Yeah.
And a combination of that, wonderful opportunities like what you're doing with your podcast, other technology based communications,
Just outreach. Yeah.
outreach, because farming, regardless of how you farm, is 365 days a year,
Yeah.
24 hours a day, and there's only so much time. Most of the farmers that I know who are doing their own direct marketing, they do not have marketing degrees.
No.
It's kind of a learn as you go. And of course, we have to have consumer understanding that in Wisconsin, it's going to be pretty tough to get fresh strawberries and blueberries in February.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have the environmental conditions to support that.
Other than in a greenhouse or something.
You
could, but
I think you'd have to have a lot of green lights.
Yeah.
But I think it's growing, and I share your optimism with a future.
Yeah.
And I do think we need to be more cognizant of things outside of the grocery store that we can eat.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to refresh ourselves in, wild foraging.
Right.
Or going back to more of that hunter type of cellular memory, where rabbit is pretty darn good to eat. So is squirrel. And all of the things in nature over millennia, they provided nourishment for the people who were here at the time.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think, trying to get people reconnected to being a part of the land and understanding it, like food is just the way and the bridge to that.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying earlier, it's like we all eat.
We're the 100%.
We all eat. We all need to eat. And where does it come from? It comes from the land.
Yes.
And we are like the only species right now that just doesn't, you can go your entire life without the only impact you have is spending money on the food.
On food.
So, yeah. How is because you've had a very long career in agriculture, what are some the major shifts? You've been a part of trying to get dairy cows back grazing on the landscape, right?
Yes.
How have those mind shifts kind of started to come about and stuff? And how have you kind of been watching those sorts of things happen? That's kind of a broad question. So take it wherever you want to go with it.
Well, when I started off my career, I primarily worked with dairy.
Yeah.
With dairy farmers.
Well, you're in Wisconsin.
I'm in Wisconsin. We're at that time, we were still the dairy state.
Yeah.
So that dials me back a few years. But it was dairy. It was dairy based. It was the farm on the heels of the farm crisis of the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And farmers had to change the industrial model of buying your milk production had fallen apart because of a number of different national and international shifts. Okay. In the 1970s, there was problems in the Middle East.
Yeah.
There was economic downturn. Interest rates shot up to 18 to 24%, depending upon the terms of your loans. Mm-hmm. So agriculture was in kind of a precarious place. And of course, the price of milk did not change at the farm gate, right? Farmers weren't getting paid for their product. So what do? You change your operation, you go back into managed grazing, which helped you cut your expenses.
Yeah, because you're spending less on inputs for feed.
Less on inputs. The cows are feeding themselves. You're not buying as much fertilizer.
They tend to be a little bit healthier too.
Which is a vet bill or two less. There were all these small little things that added up to big money. Mm-hmm. But then as the political winds, and I'm going to call them winds because when a political wind changes, there's blowback.
Yeah.
And the pendulum swings from left to right or right to left. And they always seem to swing a little bit farther each time, right?
Yeah.
instead of balancing more towards the middle, it swings.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really big push for industrial expansion of dairy.
Mm-hmm. In Wisconsin, or like the whole?
Well, it was a kind of a ripple effect across the entire nation, because at the same time, they were changing the milk marketing system.
Okay.
And how farmers were getting paid for their milk.
Yeah.
Okay. Farmers used to get, you've got so much fat in your milk, you have so much protein in your milk, you have so much of other milk components, and one situation you were getting paid on pounds of milk produced.
Mm-hmm.
Then that methodology changed to being paid on your components.
Right.
Because your components determine, can we make cheese? Are we doing cottage cheese? What are we going to do with this? Is it going to be fluid milk? Is it going to be cream? What are we going to do with it? Okay. Yeah. It gets really complex really fast. And then you throw in politics. And they were manipulating the price of milk. They were changing up how they bought milk, how milk was sold. Creameries started getting larger. People needed more cows to cash flow to pay all of their bills. And then you get a $9 drop in the price of milk.
Really?
And for the average listener, it's like, think of your paycheck, okay? And even though you're doing the same work every day, your boss comes to your desk and says, hey, you know what? You're doing a great job. You're producing quality, whatever it is you're doing. But we've just decided we're going to pay you half.
We're going to pay you half, but then also, like, from the farmer's perspective, they have to pay more to farm.
Absolutely.
So another comparison to your analogy would be if he cut your paycheck in half, but asked you to work an extra 2 hours every day.
And buy your own supplies.
Yes.
And pay for the shipping of the product in, as well as the shipping of the product out.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed that up in terms of hauling milk. And so it was really complicated. We get these wild wins in the governmental structures, not only at the federal level, but at the state level.
Yep.
And then we get program development that actually encouraged industrial.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get paid on volume.
Yeah.
So you get a volume premium instead of shipping a tri-axle or a quad axle milk tank every other day.
Yeah.
You're selling a semi-load. And so there was an effect to the processors that, hey, George, if you can milk 500 cows, you'll fill up a semi-tanker and we'll give you a volume premium.
Yeah, because it's one trip for more milk.
One trip. Instead of having 3, tri-axle milk trucks. One truck is pulling in. It's easier on your lot.
Yeah.
And then you get government programs that supported that verticalization of the dairy industry.
Interesting.
Yes. And in Wisconsin here, there was a creamery that actually dumped a bunch of their producers, turned around, bought the farms, put cows back in the barns to vertically integrate.
That's crazy.
To vertically integrate their milk.
Yeah. That's actually crazy.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And so that throughout, and now Wisconsin has swung. We're down.
Well, I feel like Organic Valley was like a big, like like if you want to point to something that really started to shift how dairy was done in Wisconsin, I feel like Organic Valley was a big thing in that.
Right. But they were also the laughing stock of the dairy industry. And you have to keep in mind that Organic Valley spun out of the Cooley Region Organic Producer Pool, which were
not far from this farm.
Not far from your farm. and they were mostly vegetable growers.
Mm-hmm.
But because the demand for having an organically produced product was so well received that they said, hey, I got an idea. Let's see what we can do with fluid milk.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do with beef. And so over the last 30 years, they've blossomed into Organic Valley. And of course, they were the laughing stock. They said, yep, few years, 5 years
They
at
run out.
best. That whole thing will be gone.
Well, and let's
And
point
it's-
out why
and it's grown.
Yeah, it's grown, and let's point out why it's so helpful. It's because now you don't have to grow to this massive enclosed dairy farm. There are still like, you know,
Small dairies.
confinement dairies, organic dairies, but like you can be a small producer because you have that extra added on price of it being organic.
Absolutely.
And sometimes even pasture raised, you could say.
Yes. Because they do have
And that's
100% pasture products.
yes.
With no
Mhm.
grain.
Yeah.
In the diets at all. And so there's all these political shifts, there's programmatic shifts within the agencies that oversee all of agriculture. And so much of it, the farmers have zero control over other than how they cast a vote.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's where the consumers come in to bolster whatever the farmers are trying to express.
absolutely, because remember, it's less than 1%
Yeah.
versus 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's what consumers that are going to be listening to this are going to remember.
Yeah.
I am part of the 100%,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then we fast forward to today, and now I spend a lot more time with beef farmers. Dairy is still out there.
Yeah.
There may be a chance to breathe life back into dairy, but one of the big stumbling blocks right now is the price of land.
And it's like, you know, we're heading into a governor's race this fall.
Absolutely.
And one of my big things is I'm looking at people over in Iowa that are pushing for, hey, we don't want people who don't live in Iowa buying Iowa land.
Correct.
And I'm like, why the heck isn't anybody in the race right now saying that for Wisconsin that I've seen?
Yeah.
Someone
it's-
might be saying it, but I haven't seen it yet.
No. And that's one of the points that I'm looking for with I'm going to say the field
Mm-hmm.
of what the voting options are going to be. Of course, there's a big exodus on healthcare, but we also have to remember that the healthcare mess is a mess that man created when we went to a paid system of healthcare, because then it became a business.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of the people that are, you know, selling products for like agriculture products are also selling the things that are supposed to make us healthy.
absolutely.
Which I can go there and you can say whatever you want about that, but I'll let you make that decision.
I will smile and I will nod my head.
I can't get you in trouble.
Because nobody can see which way the nod is going. But it makes it very interesting, and it completely changes the ball game.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, it's the fox in the hen house.
Yeah.
Or the raccoon or the possum.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a possum incident this past winter.
Oh, did you really?
We did. Got one of our chickens. But we trapped him.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at that. I do not have a recipe for possum stew.
Oh,
So,
shucks.
but he was safely tucked away to go
Okay.
live a happy possum life
On somebody else's farm.
where there's no chickens.
Ideally.
At least no close chickens at hand.
Yeah. He'll wander his way back. Don't worry. Or someone else will show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's just something within Wisconsin that, you know, the votes aren't within rural communities.
Correct.
You know, like
Yes.
that's, if you're a politician worrying about the farmers, like people love to hear about that, but it's like, it's people don't recognize its importance. And especially within, you know, rural towns and rural communities, I'm like, someone saying, hey, we want Wisconsin residents to be able to buy property in Wisconsin and farm it would be like huge for me to give them my vote.
Absolutely.
And I think in terms of, you know, Wisconsin, we've always been known for cheese, dairy, and the Packers.
Right.
We still have the Packers and we still have cheese, but we're no longer the dairy capital of the U.S.
Correct.
You know?
Yep.
I think that goes to California now.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, those Californians, they don't have this thing called 23 below zero weather.
Yeah.
They
They just have massive wildfires. That's it.
yes.
Because
but
they don't manage their forests properly.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a lack of management.
Yeah.
But no, and people may not remember that the Green Bay Packers,
It's a
if you
Packer company
was a pack, they were members, they were meat slingers.
Yeah.
They were meat cutters. And Green Bay
that's
Packing,
what was cool about the team as
Yeah.
well at first, but yeah.
you know, because it came from the community
hmm
and that was their pride. And, you know,
There were people from the packaging company that was on the first team.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is just crazy.
Well, I mean, they were slinging beef, man.
yeah.
And those were the days when it wasn't quite as mechanized as it is right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they put, you know, these were definitely the
Oh, yeah.
lumberjacks
Yeah.
that were doing the work.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have to recognize land base is not being made anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, maybe the Hawaiian Islands are getting a little bit here and a little bit there. That's going to be a while, you know,
Yeah.
before that is quote unquote safe, habitable. But outside of the ground that we have right now, that's why soil conservation, soil preservation, keeping our soil where it
Mhm.
belongs is so important. And that soil is the base of our entire agroeconomy.
Yeah. And I think also, you know, the way that we manage land is still just in such a European mindset as to how we look at it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when I was first driving through this area, when we first moved here, I thought the woods was just the coolest thing here. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at these hills. Like, I want it to be all woods. Like, get rid of all this pasture and stuff.
Yes.
But then I was just trying to explain this to a couple buddies within the, you know, College of Forest and Natural Resources up at Tech. And I was just like, imagine up here in the UP, if someone cut down all the trees, which, you know, happened, but then instead of letting it either just come back up naturally or planting, you know, oak trees and maple trees back in, what happened is they took a bunch of European species and then put it all in.
Yes.
Because that's what happened to the prairies here.
Yes.
Is we tilled it up and we either put it into, you know, corn or oats or wheat or pasture. Cool season, European introduced pasture. And then the areas that weren't went back into a woods type.
They were abandoned.
They were abandoned and they went back into a woods type of ecosystem, which then led to massive like soil erosion because it couldn't hold on to the soil quite as well and stuff.
Absolutely.
Um,
We lost the burn.
yeah.
What happened is we lost the burn and then the trees came in.
Yeah.
And prior to the trees coming in, early settlers really overgrazed the bluffs.
Mm-hmm.
They grazed it down to the dirt. Why? Because that was wasteland. That's where the cattle pasture.
Yeah.
You didn't pasture where you could grow a different crop.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was that dichotomy that that's junk land. We're going to pasture the junk land.
Well, and even like going back to the European mindset thing, like we look out in the woods and we're like, that's where the nature is.
Yeah.
And that's where the wildlife are. But then the open areas, that's where the people are. And that's where we farm and we use the land.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is the animals and the creatures from this area for thousands of years have evolved to be out in the open,
Yeah.
prairie areas. I kind of have stopped using the area the term grassland to describe them because then people are like, oh, it's just all grass.
Right. They think it's blue. They think it's a golf course, bluegrass, and
yeah. Well,
corn.
but then it's like they do just think it's all big blue stem and switchgrass and Indian grass, and what I'm referring to is an actual prairie
where there's
even
forbs.
yeah,
and
even like CRP and stuff. Like I've stopped using CRP to describe prairie, and I've just actually just started to use the word prairie.
yes, yes, because a prairie is not a monoculture. A prairie is a functioning ecosystem.
Yes. Yeah. And like CRP could literally just be a mix of big blue stem and Indian grass.
Yeah.
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 Which is does a lot more harm than good. And I was in a comment section the other day on YouTube, and someone was like, oh, but I see tons of prairie around here. And I was like, I don't think what you're seeing is prairie. I think what you're seeing is CRP, which is not the same thing. It can be really good.
Oh, absolutely.
It can be like a genuine prairie mix, but for the most part, it's like a 10 or 13 species mix, and that's it.
Well, and one of the problems with a program, okay, so that in essence, the federal government is renting your land from you for 10 years, for 15 years, whatever the contract life is. And in that process, they're telling you the crop that they want you to plant. And so there's no such thing as a permanent cover type.
Yeah.
A permanent. Why? Because we're dealing with ecosystems, we're dealing with environment. And in the process of the environment, grasslands without being burned, prairies without being burned, there's a succession that takes place.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, in the Driftless area, it was a fast succession into the amount of mature hardwoods that we have throughout the Driftless area today in 2026.
Yeah.
We're talking these trees are less than 100 years old. But we're getting into that 75 to 100 year age stamp.
Yeah.
Right. When you go to the northern forest, that was slightly different because that of a different.
It wasn't conducive for prairie to grow there and
Correct.
stuff. So it would have been
Correct.
more forested.
And so it's a very complex system, and you plant your CRP ground, even if you do a 12 or 14 species mix.
Yeah.
But over time, big blue stem takes over.
Yeah.
Switchgrass takes over. Why? Because that's what the grasses did. And that's why the grasses were burned.
Right.
They
burned it in the fall because that's what times out for the forbs to actually come in. And that's what gives a lot of the like grazing nutrients back into it. But like you can still, like I can take you back behind the house where you've cleared out for oak savanna restoration, and you can see oak trees that were from the oak savanna, like back in the day.
Yeah.
That are still around.
Yes.
And that are like living proof that was a thing. And there still would have been hardwood areas in the oak savanna where fire didn't reach and stuff to supply, because like, deer and turkeys and grouse, like they still need woods, and that's still like a big component of their habitat, but it's not as much as, it's let on within the habitat community that, I tend to associate with. Also,
all we know is that it's a very complex process
Yes.
and a very complex situation that's taking place every single day.
Yeah. Well, good. I think we're at an hour and 20 minutes right now.
Okay. Wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
Always glad to talk, George.
Thank you for driving all the way from Eau Claire to come down here on such short notice as well. So
not a problem.
I really appreciate it.
No, the thing of it is you made a trek all the way from the UP back down to the Driftless. And
it was the perfect excuse I needed to come back down here.
Well, and hopefully tomorrow you can take off your shoes and socks and find a spatch and walk around in some green budding grass.
That'd be pretty great. Yeah.
Yes, it's that time of the year.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
You are welcome, George, anytime.
Thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to go and check out our sponsor, Just Landed Lanyards, over on Instagram. They make duck lanyards, dog leashes, binocular slings, gun slings, all that kind of stuff. It's all handmade, really high quality stuff. So please make sure to go and check them out. Follow them on Instagram, message them what you want, and they're going to get you hooked up. Also, just a reminder to please share this with anybody you think would find this interesting. It's pretty much the only way that I'm going to grow is by you guys spreading the word that this podcast exists, as well as comment any questions you have about it, or suggestions as to what I should do in the future, even production wise as to how the episodes go. So anything you guys want to comment, please be sure to comment it and I will definitely respond to it. And thank you guys again for listening to this episode.